How y'all doing? YouTube community, awesome. Hey, it's me, Romasanta, with another awesome, great, amazing writing video. It's gonna be great, huge. So we're talking about world building today, and I'm sitting like L from Death Note. But we're gonna stop doing that. Oh my goodness. So, yeah, four-time published author, five-star beta reader, ghostwriter, and now editor. Oh my goodness. So many things to do, so many things to do with such little time. So I'm doing this video off the dome like I do usually, almost all my videos. Why? Because just let it come from the heart, just let it come from the heart and soul. So what are we talking about today? World building. What is world building? It's when you're when you're writing a fantasy novel, science fiction novel, okay? And you're creating your own world. Oh my goodness, isn't that fun? You're playing God and you're creating this own world. And it's really a beautiful process. I like to think of it like this, like almost like world building is kind of like worlds that could have been. And it's like kind of the divine putting that in your head. You never know. Like, it's just so fun. So with that being said, I think that's a beautiful, beautiful glory that us humans have, is the fact that we can world build. We can create these things. This is what separates us from the animals, okay? My cat can't do this, but you can. So I'm here to help you and just kind of share what I've seen with all the manuscripts that I've received, my own personal recordings. And this actually probably will be a multi-video thing, maybe like its own playlist. But, what are you going to do, okay? I'm going off the cuff here. I'm not a Harry Potter in this video. I'm off the cover. So, world building. Okay, when you're writing fiction, you're going to build your own world. But how can we do that properly? We want to create creative, foreign worlds and make the reader feel familiar in these worlds. What we're supposed to do is create the unfamiliar and make it familiar. Isn't that interesting? Yes, that is our goal. And that's a really big thing in science fiction. That's a really big thing in fantasy, is taking the unfamiliar and making the reader feel like it is familiar. That requires a lot of work. But at the same time, it's really good because there's so many different things you can do with that. A lot of times what I'll see, I put this map in the back of my my face here, because what I've seen in a lot of manuscripts too is sometimes authors don't really utilize this much. So what they'll do is they'll hire somebody, or they'll even start and make their own map, and they put the map in the book, and I think that's just so fun. That could definitely help, but don't use that as a cop-out, okay? So with that being said, what kind of things are we including in this world? Okay, there's a lot of like little profile sheets you can find on the internet. It's very straightforward. You know how the government works. Okay, how, let's say, your soldiers look. If you're gonna have soldiers in the novel, how do they look? Okay, how's the currency like? What are the normal people, the laymen? What do the everyday people wear? Okay, where are your main characters? Where is that going? Where are they living? How does the different regions work? How are the landscapes, the climate, the cultures? So many things go into this. You're literally building a world. Don't take it lightly. This is a gift, and you should really treat it with brevity. You're creating a universe, and sometimes I like to think of it like, you never know. Like, maybe you're creating this world, and far off in the universe, it's real. But is that really how it is? Probably not. But you treat it with that brevity. You want to make sure, at least I do. You want to make sure that you're creating a world that's fun, fantastic, and, really just kind of stands on its own. I think that's something that we're lacking today, and I really want to have this taken away, is uniqueness. Nowadays, we have this like influx of medieval fiction, and I think a lot of that came from Game of Thrones, but oh my goodness, like how many medieval fictions do I receive all the time? The YA medieval, a court of this and a dance of that and a who what now. Oh my goodness, it's like inflated. It's like saturating the market with medieval fiction. So what is the problem here? When I receive these manuscripts, it's almost like deja vu. It's like I keep getting the same exact story. Right? Is it bad? No, I mean, it's okay to be inspired by something. It's okay, put your magic system in there. Okay, we'll talk about magic system as well. It could be a part of world building, but not always synonymous. Although it is really close in that mix. You want to have uniqueness, okay? This is the difference between what I've found between all different types of medieval fiction is they all end up looking the same, okay? There's a lot of like just these generic wars, generic battles, generic castles. Maybe something deep embedded into subconscious mind. I talk about psychology a lot on this channel. Now, psychology, how does it apply to world building? That's pretty interesting. So it's pretty interesting because we construct the world around us. We construct our own worldview from the inside out. Pretty interesting. What we see around us is not how it actually is. This is how we're refracting light into our thing. So, what we see around us is technically the world building of something else. Maybe it is God. Maybe it is natural selection of all different types of sources, but nonetheless, things aren't always as they appear. You might not even look like how you really do look like. So when you treat world building with that type of brevity of like, you know what, maybe I am doing something more than this seems. You could kind of bring your own personality into it. That's another big thing. You could draw from other inspirations. I see people do this very successfully, like where they'll kind of take their own architecture off like real life examples, then put their own spin on that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I have that in one of my world buildings. The main architecture is a combination of modern meets like that stained glass cathedral, which is beautiful. It's almost like a modern Gothic, which I don't see. I've never seen that before. That's why I wanted to roll with it. I was like, okay, what if we take modern society and make it as if almost the majority of the architecture was almost like churches, but with a modern appeal, with like steel and all that. And it turned out beautiful. So like in my world, like if you see a skyscraper, it has this beautiful ornate designs. The floors are embedded with jewels. It's like diamonds and jewels and all that are not a big thing in my. They're just like whatever. Some people use them, and the roads are paved with diamonds and gold. It's just really far out there, and I think it's a little bit of the beauty of the matter. So don't be afraid to put your own self into there, and take some real life examples, put it there as well, especially ones you're familiar with. Because then you can make the familiar unfamiliar, and then henceforth build on that and make the unfamiliar familiar. They say do the same thing with your characters. Like if you don't understand like psychology and Jungian archetypes and the personality types and whatnot, go right off people Go same thing. Go right off places. Yeah, I think a lot of people are taking a little too much of other people's inspiration. That's fine. Like let's say you like Harry Potter. I'm doing the Game of Thrones because this is what I'm receiving. I'm literally receiving a lot of these medieval fictions. Like I think it's a part of the cultural phenomenon or something. But yeah, nonetheless, see what they're doing. Take what you can, but only take a little bit. I mean, don't go and steal their whole thing. Maybe not stealing is not the word, but drawing so much, inspiration is it can really sacrifice that creativity. We don't want to read the same story over and over and over again. So yeah, some people take the don't reinvent the wheel approach. That's cool. Okay. But who's paving the way? I mean, that's the difference here. Who's going to pave the way and who's going to just keep doing the same cookie cutter? You know what I mean? Both are okay. No, this is art. It doesn't have any rules. Okay. But does have a lot of things that do work. So yeah, go ahead to make the unfamiliar familiar. So you see Star Wars. I use Star Wars a lot in this channel, a lot of explanations because there's so many good points that they hit. Their world building it's almost infinite. They can just literally just go in space and just bring new worlds and all that, and it'll be willy nilly. It's like they never run out of material because they have such a large frontier. But what's important is once you start, learning about the Jedi, once you start learning about outer space and all these different planets, the government system with that empire, the rebellion, how people feel, the layman, that's very important too. You can use your layman, your every single day person, to really bounce this off so you can show, not tell. Because I feel like a lot of these books, when they have just these long-winded narratives, it's a lot of tell and a lot of show, but once you kind of start describing the layman, even having their opinions in the mix, that's another great way to show and tell. Show not tell. So with that being said, yeah, once you start reading the Harry Potter books, and once you start, let's say watching Star Wars, you can kind of feel familiar here. You start to ask these questions. What would I do if I was in this world? I think that's really important about world building, is having your readers start asking those questions like, what kind of Jedi would I be? I mean, like what kind of knight would I be? What kind of job would I have in this world? Would I be an author? What kind of art forms are in here? There's so many different things, and this is kind of a difficult video to kind of just go off the dome with, because it is one of those such a lax, like there's no rule set to this, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that work and a lot of things that do not work from my personal experience. And I think a lot of people do agree with me. A lot of people are kind of, sick of saying the same old thing. And one thing that's I don't want to consider a travesty. It's not a travesty. It's just kind of something I've noticed, is that a lot of authors will have this unique vision, and then when I get it, it ends up looking like everything else. And then they're like, oh, maybe this isn't exactly what I pictured. I pictured something completely different. And then I read it and I go, okay, well, that sounds just like the other, 5, 6 manuscripts I received. And it's nothing bad if that's what you do. Sometimes you just kind of slip up. And that's why you give positive advice, constructive criticism. Am I here to tell you that your world is stale? No. Am I here to tell you that your world is stale? Yeah. you know, I'm all over the place with this one. So with that being said, everything is going to lack originality, but also at the same time, it's going to be original within that lack. So yeah, you could take that don't reinvent the wheel approach, okay, and just kind of do the same medieval fiction everybody's heard. A lot of people are into that. Okay, so I mean, if you're down with the knights and the armies and the dragons and whatnot, go ahead and write your Dragon Knight book. I'm going to judge it, or I'm rather going to critique it on literary fundamentals. And critiquing world building is so interesting, but there's a lot to consider. I wanted to keep this video super short. Any other questions that are this is not live. I wish it was live, but let me try to think about something like this. World, let me see. Sci-fi worlds. I love sci-fi worlds. There's a lot of world building in sci-fi. There's also a lot of world building with real life world. Because how can I say this? If your novel's situated on Earth, sometimes people do like crazy stuff where it's like in the future. That's really awesome. You could really just kind of embed so many awesome things. World building is such an almost unique individual art, and I really want to bring that out. Make it unique and make it individual, even if you're doing a spin on something you've already seen. Put your heart and soul into it. Put your own experiences. I want to live in your world because here's what it is for writing. The author's subconscious is in your hands. Sometimes this is just popping out of their head, and they can't control it. This is just what they see, and sometimes it's like that. So, with that being said, keep it real, keep on world building. I'm going to keep on doing this style video with world building. Maybe next time I'll write the notes. This time I won't, okay? Because I'm just going off the dome. I probably even won't next time. But anyways, yeah, like, subscribe, keep it real. Go ahead, do your world building, draw it if you have to. A lot of people love to draw. If you're not a drawer, maybe you could I've seen some people write songs, and that's really there's so many different muses that you could really bring into this. It's so beautiful. Yeah, anyways, I treat world building with a lot of respect because I just have a personal belief that maybe the universe is so vast that maybe what if I am creating a real world somewhere far that I'll never see, like in a multiverse or something like that. Is that real? Probably not, but I treat it with that brevity, okay? So if you're going to make somebody suffer in that world, be prepared to really make someone suffer. If you're really prepared to construct this wonderful government system, go ahead, construct it, really think it out. Use logic and creativity, the left brain and the right brain. This is where world building comes together, and I think it's a really good neurological exercise as well. So yeah, go ahead, have fun in world building, like, subscribe, keep it real, love it. Keep on writing, which is important. Go ahead and branch out. Even if your worlds are starting to kind of fit somebody else's mold, don't be afraid to put your own spin on it. Okay. Double check that if you're doing that you're actually executing it well too. Because a lot of people try to do it and the execution is a little bit lacking. So double check that. But I see a lot of people do this wonderfully when they really put their heart into it. That's a lot of big difference here is like when they really put their heart and soul into world building, like constructing a world that people might want to live in or might not want to live in. But the point over is once your world building is good, your readers are going to ask a lot of questions about their own self and how they would do in this world. And I think that's where a lot of success will come from. Anyways, take it real, like, subscribe, yada, yada. Love you. Keep riding.